Hello, what is up? My name is Mike and welcome to our Academy. And in this video, we are going to introduce you, or we are going to have an introduction to biology, and specifically we'll be talking about some of the characteristics of living things. Okay, so this is a simple, science that each one of us do understand that for a living organism to be identified as a living organism, then it must have certain properties, it must have certain characteristics. Now, what are these characteristics that we must be able to understand for us to begin now to dive into the deepness and also just, unlock the mystery of understanding whether something is a living organism or whether something is a non-living organism. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share to your friends and anyone else whom you think they might also like this video. And also remember to give this channel a thumbs up so that we are able to understand that if you like this video or if you don't like this video, we'll be able to see how we can actually improve on on your posting our videos and everything that might be able to interest you. Now, nevertheless, let's now dive into the deepness of understanding biology. Okay, so each one of us is now able to understand what is biology and what are some of the things that makes things to undergo some of the things that we are going to talk about right now. Okay, so now I want you to understand that when you talk about living organism, right? Okay, so when we talk about living organism, we must be able to understand that for something to be called a living organism, it must be able to attain or actually, fulfill certain characteristics. And these characteristics are about 7 of them, that each of the things that we might claim that it is a living organism or not a living organism. But of course, we are simply talking about living organisms or living creatures. Okay, so first of all, we must be able to understand what is biology. Okay, so biology is just the science that studies the life of living organism. Okay, or biology is a study of living things. Okay, and that's why biology is more inclined to study things that are able to move, things that are able to reproduce, things that are able even to undergo reproduction and other life processes. Okay, so now what are these characteristics? Okay, so now, if you want to understand what are these characteristics that we are talking about, these characteristics are, you can also use an acronym or just some kind of abbreviation that you can use so that if you don't want to forget these are list of characteristics of living things, then you can just use the following abbreviation or acronym. Okay, so we can simply call it okay, so we can simply call it Mr. Greens. Okay, and that's how you can be able to understand and then just be able to just break down in that abbreviation. You can now be able to break it down, like what does M stand for, what does R stand for, what does G, R, E, N, S, and just like that. Okay, so once you are able to understand those characteristics, then it becomes something very simple to quickly understand and dive into the deep knowledge of biology. Okay, unlocking the mystery of enzymes, unlocking the mystery of genetics, unlocking the mystery of digestion and everything that you might think of. Okay, so everything lies in the characteristics of living things. Okay, now let's see what each of those letters in the abbreviation would actually mean if you are just kind of to unwrap, the puzzle about this abbreviation. Okay. So now M equals to movement. Okay. And then R. So if you want to talk about R, then R can be, reproduction or respiration, but whichever you feel like should start with, that's okay. You can start with reproduction, that's fine. You can start with, respiration, that is too fine. Okay, so I'll start with respiration. Number 3, we've got G, so that is growth. Okay. And then we are going to have, so, another arrow. So the arrow there is number 4. So that is reproduction. Then this one is going to be E equals to okay. So now, what you can see now that the meaning of each and every single letter in the abbreviation stand for M stand for movement, M stand for movement, and then R stand for reproduction, or if you want respiration, and then also G stand for growth. Okay, and R can stand for, if you say this is respiration, and then the other R can stand for reproduction, and then the E stand for excretion, the N stand for nutrition, the S stand for sensitivity. Okay, now I'm going to break down now, because we have to understand what is the meaning of movement, okay, in respective to animals, okay, respective to living things, okay. What is the function of movement? Why is movement important in living things or in animals, okay? Why is respiration important? Why is growth important? And then also, why reproduction is important? Why do living organisms have to undergo the process of reproduction? And also, number 5 is E, which stands for excretion. Why should animal, perform or rather undergo the process of excretion? And then also, the last 2 is number 6, why animals or living organisms should be able to undergo nutrition, okay. And then also the last one, which is the 7th one, which is a S, stand for sensitivity. Why should animal have this property of sensing whether they should run away from a predator or whether they should actually fight over something or compete over something? So they should have that ability, natural ability built in them that should actually enable them to survive. Okay, just like you and I, we are able to sense whether we should go this way, whether we should go that way, or what kind of danger is coming toward us. Okay, and that's how you can be able to survive, and obviously, stay longer than other people that normally don't understand their sensitivity ability in them. But anyway, let's now break it down. Okay, what does it mean when we talk about movement? Okay, or what is movement, and why should movement be a very cardinal characteristic or property of living things? Okay, so first of all, So now, first of all, when we talk about movement, okay, each of the living organism, anything that is called a living organism, must be able to undergo the process of movement, because the movement is very cardinal, okay? Now, why movement? So for anything to run away from something that is very dangerous, or something that is going to actually overpower you, something that is going to overpower an organism, okay, that should be able to actually invoke that ability of running away, okay? So it can be running away, moving away from danger, or it can also function as something that will enable an organism to go and look for food, okay? So movement can function in the food, seeking, or danger, running away from danger. So functions, for example, moving toward food, then moving away from danger. Okay. So now, what you should be able to understand is that when we're talking about, an organism that is moving away from danger, that means that there must be movement that should be done, okay? Unlike for something that is stationary, like for example, trees are not able to move, but they are living things, okay? But we are going to, justify movement in trees, something that is stationary, okay? But otherwise, or nevertheless, when you're talking about something that is a living thing, should be able to possess movement as its property, okay? So this movement will function as a moving toward food. So in search of food, we have seen how chicken are able to move from one place within the area, just moving, changing position because they are seeking food, okay? And then you can see when you try to catch a chicken, or maybe you want to try to catch something that is also of the nature of the living organism, it tends to run away from you because it is able, because of inbuilt functionality, okay, the ability to sense that this is trying to catch me, or probably this is trying to harass me or kill me or something like that. But that should be in them, the ability to move away from danger, and that increases the chances of survival, okay? So living things must be able to possess this powerful function, or rather powerful characteristic, which is movement, okay? So if you aren't moving, then you risk your life being trapped, okay, or being killed by any unnecessary predator, okay? So the fact that something is able to move, that gives us the chances, the high chances, the probability that it is able to find food quick, it is able to move away from danger, and just like that, okay? So now, number 2, we'll talk about respiration, okay? Okay, so why respiration? Okay, so respiration is one of the key fundamentals of one of the processes which falls under metabolism, okay, which is catabolism, anabolism, okay? So respiration, this is the breaking down of large complex molecules, okay, like glucose. Glucose breaks down into carbon dioxide, water, and some energy, okay? So the major reason why an organism should be able to undergo respiration is because of the essence of the energy that comes as a result of this process called respiration, okay? And you should be able to know that respiration occurs in cells, okay, within the cells, specifically called the mitochondria, okay? So the small organelles where these where this process occurs is called the mitochondria, okay? So the reason is that we are looking for energy, okay? So if an animal is to move from one place to another, then it implies that it must have in itself some energy that was derived from respiration, okay? And respiration requires some kind of food, okay, which we see in just in a second how that food comes about, okay? So now, why respiration? So the reason why respiration is that respiration is a biological process which occurs in the cells within the mitochondria. So occurs within, okay, so within cells. Okay. So these the process called respiration should be able to occur in the cells. Okay, so either plant cell or animal cell, respiration is a must. It must occur. Otherwise, if it doesn't occur, then we are not going to have the energy that organism is possessing or resulting to something like some kind of action like movement. Okay, so energy is is a fundamental thing that we're looking out of the biological process called respiration. So energy comes out of respiration, and then this respiration occurs in the cells called, within the cells specifically called the mitochondria. That's where respiration occurs. Okay, so now that's the idea why respiration should be able to, should be one of the property to be found in all living organism. Okay. So now from there, we are going to also, number 3, we are going to have growth. Okay. Okay. Now, so the G there stands for the growth. So first of all, why should in fact an organism grow? Okay. So now, this is about the rule of nature. Okay, so everything that is born, okay, must be able to undergo some form of changes. Okay, some form of evolution. Okay, so from being a simple form of itself to some form of complex. Okay, because it has developed some of the sophisticated features. Okay, like the arm, the hands, the head, everything about itself. You were just a single cell, okay, called the zygote, okay. So now, because you started, as you developed, because some other processes were into place, okay, so you started now enlarging, becoming, there was some form of enlargement, okay, some form of enlargement because you had also taken in some of the food. Now, here's the thing. So, growth is because when you are born, you can't be the same size as you were from the time you were born, okay? Because you cannot live for 100 years, okay? You cannot live for 500 years, okay? So there's got to be some ways in which you get to move from a simple form of yourself to some other major forms or rather complex ones of yourself, okay? So if you are just a single cell now, you happen to be this complex organism that is able to, stay without eating, can move without eating, because some of the cells are very strong to survive for a specific time frame, okay? So you can stay without eating. Now, growth is that because you're from the, what can I say, offspring to adult, so you get now to grow, okay? So anything that is called a living organism must be able to change form, okay? So growth can be anything to do with change in size or weight, okay? So you can change in terms of length, okay? So you can change in terms of length or in weight, with regards to the mass of yourself. Okay, so you were just a baby, so when you were taken to the clinic, you were put onto the scale, and then you weigh, like, for example, 30 kg or 10 kg. So 5 years later, you are not going to weigh the same, right? You are going to, there's going to be an increase because you have been consuming some things that is going to actually, occupy some spaces within yourself. Okay, so that's growth. So growth is fundamental, okay, to every living organism, okay. Now let's move on. Number 4, that is reproduction. Okay, so now let's talk about reproduction. So this is something that is not so unique, or something that is not, you have heard about reproduction. Okay, now for growth to take place, something must have been reproduced, right? Okay, so when we want to understand how society works, how the population grows, is because of one of the major fundamentals, characteristic of living things, which is reproduction. So reproduction is the key, okay, for increasing the population. Okay, so of course reproduction can be reduced because of some of the natural phenomena, like the way it happens, like COVID-19 and some other diseases. People died, okay, because they were infected with either the viruses or the bacteria. Okay, so but how do we maintain the population within a society or country? So reproduction comes into a play. So if we wanna actually leave a certain group of species or animals, or certain family of people, we must be able to have come from a particular parent that have produced us. Okay, so reproduction involves producing younger ones. Okay, so reproduction is essential, okay, to every living creature or organism, because for something to be, for something to be stable, okay, there must be reproduction. For example, people who were born in